Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Tennessee Liquid. On today's episode, I don't think you're going to have any introduction on who this right here is. If you grew up in the 80s, you know who Shira is. Now, Shira came out in 1985 with the Princess of Power TV series. It ran for 5 seasons and had a total of 93 episodes. That's a long time. And she is the twin sister of He-Man. And if you grew up in the 80s, you know who He-Man is. He-Man is what everybody wanted to watch. You know, the kids wanted to be him, the adults wanted to have muscles like him. I want to have muscles like him right now. But She-Ra took off in 85 with her own TV series. And she never did get featured in the Masters of the Universe. But I do hear tell that she may pop in on this new one coming out in June of 2026 this year. So we'll just have to wait and find out if she's in there. But until then, I'm going to show you how I painted her. So let's jump on into that video. This model was designed by MCM 3D Studios. He's a Patreon over on the Patreon. And for $6.95 a month, you get 6 quarter scale welcome pack, 2 models a month, supports and voting privileges. So head on over there and subscribe to him. I started off primering the body with 2 different color primers. And there's a reason for that. I primered her dress white because it's supposed to be white, and you don't want to paint white over anything but white, because if you try to paint white over black, you're just gonna have a sad time. And the cape had to be white because it is supposed to be red. You can paint red over black, but it's aggravating. So just go ahead and just primer it white and be done with it. And the rest of it, I just used a regular old black on. I like to primer everything and leave it overnight just to make sure everything is good and dried before I start throwing paint on it. And then when you get that done, the fun begins. Let's throw some paint on this model.
For the honor of Grayskull!
I started off with the base. Now this model had 2 different bases on it. It had a base that sits on a base, if that makes sense. And this is the bottom base. It was pretty much black, and it had a gold stripe around it. Now I've been using this gold on several models, and I really like this gold, but it is super thin and it looks a lot better if you airbrush it. So I just went ahead and taped up around the base the parts that I didn't want to be gold, and I sprayed it with this gold just to make it look shiny. Moving on to the second base, which sits on top of that base, I wanted to try something a little different this time. I normally dry brush the rocks, but I wanted to try to see what it looked like just to paint it solid gray. So I took a light gray and painted this solid. And now it's time to move on to the dry brushing. I took a lighter gray, which is called a pale gray, and this one that I chose kind of has a bluish cast to it. And you want to take your dry brush and just dry brush the living daylights out of this rock. And make sure you catch all the high spots to give it kind of a more weathered look, like it's been chipped off and broke. And if you've ever seen this kind of rock, it has white spots on the edges of the rock. And then you want to come back with a deck tan. Now I chose deck tan because deck tan is not white and it's not gray. and it's not brown. It's kind of somewhere in the mix of all that. But I chose to do the deck tan just to kind of give it a more dirtier look. And when I got it done, it still didn't look like the rock that I wanted. So I had to come back with a different color. And I chose to just take a plain old white and go over all the high spots once again and blend it in really good, and then it come out to look like a rock. Now moving on to the creature thing that is around her feet. I don't really know why there's a snake around her feet, but there's a snake around her feet. And I didn't show me painting the whole snake because it's all just green. So I just jumped ahead and showing you painting just the head for right now. The inside of the mouth needed to be a pinkish color. So I didn't show it, but I did mix a drop of Warlord purple into this pink just to give it kind of a little darker color. And then I came in and painted the eyes with the deck tan that I used previously on the base, because I'm going to paint the eyes yellow, and you don't want to paint yellow over black. You want to paint it over some color of white or something thereof. So I come back with the deck tan, painted it yellow, and then I put a speck of black right in the middle for his pupil to give him kind of a weird, eerie look. And see there? Kind of weird looking, like he just wants to come right out and eat somebody's chicken. Now the artist done a really good job at putting scales on this snake, and I wanted you to be able to see that. So I took a really light green and just went over the top of the snake just enough to bring out the scales so you can see them. And then when you get all that done, you can call this base done. Putting all that aside, we're moving on to the boots. Now the boots had to be gold, but it's a different color gold than the gold that I'm going to use for the rest of her body. This had to be more like a fabric gold, and for that I just used a bright gold. The bottoms of her shoes had to be white. I don't understand why they always have white on their shoes, because it's like nothing gets dirty. They fight in the mud and the muck and the dust, but their shoes are always white. It's weird. Maybe it's a superpower or something that their shoes just stay white. And if you've ever had to hand paint white, you know you're going to have to do it at least 3 or 4 more times before it looks good. That's just the way it is. Have fun with it. And then she had this little black line that went around it. The only part on her shoe that is black that wouldn't show dirt, but it's just a little bitty dinky line. And then you come back with that same gold that you painted the base with and paint the flower. And if you've noticed, this is a metal looking gold, so it's a different looking gold. And now we get to move on to the skin tone. You want to start off over your primered black with a white zenithal highlight. Now you can use white primer or white paint, but I chose to use the white ink from AK just because it's thin and you can spray it on in layers. You can always put more on, but it's harder to take it off. And after you get your white, you want to come back with pink. Now I normally use just a regular old pink, but I'm trying this magenta color out by AK, and I like it pretty good. This stuff sprays good through a gun, and
it looks pretty good. So this may be my new pink for skin tone. And you want to spray it kind of from the top down, kind of where the light's going to be hitting from, because you want that pink color to be in your skin color when you get it put on. And then you want to come back with a transparent red, and you want to put that on all the bendy parts, your fingers, your elbows, the inside of your elbows, your knees, around your hips, you know, the places that would normally bend. That's where you want to put your transparent red. And you want to spray this from the bottom up if you can, because that's where your shadows are. And after you get that done, now it's time to start putting on some color. This is where you really get to seeing what it's going to look like when you get it painted with some skin tone. I started off with a brown rose. Now I've been using this for several skin tones in here lately, and I really like this color. It makes a good base color. It kind of got a reddish cast, and it's kind of got a skin tone color. That's why it's called brown rose. You want to mix this with some water and kind of thin it down, maybe 50-50 or a little less. And you want to spray it on in coats. You don't want to spray and cover up all your red, because you want some of your magenta and red to show through, to come out in your skin, because your skin has different colors and different shades of pink and red in it, and you want that to come out and show. And then when you get that done and everything's dried good, you want to come back with a sunny skin. And you want to spray this from the top down, from where the light source would be hitting, because this is where the change in color from the light source is going to start happening. So just spray this from the top down. And again, I sprayed this in very thin coats, so you can always put more on, but it's harder to take off. Now I don't normally show this step, but I like to put my model back together and make sure that all your skin tone is matching, because there's nothing worse than getting all your skin tone completely done and you putting it together and you find out one of your legs is a different color, or your face is a different color, or you know what I'm saying. Just make sure that it's all the same color and it matches. And then the next step, you want to come back in with the highly sought after Orcish Dermis. Now when you spray your skin tone, it starts to desaturate a little bit, and your Orcish Dermis helps put some of that red tint back into the bendy areas of your model, like in the armpits and stuff, kind of like you did your transparent red at the beginning. So you want to spray this basically where that red was at, to put the saturation back in your color. And now for your final step. You want to take a basic skin, which is the highest light you want on your model, and spray it from the very top of where the light source would be, which would be the brightest one. And sometimes I like to go a little bit further and put just a little bit of white in with this paint to make it just a little bit lighter and brighter. But for this model, this was good enough for me. And then your skin tone's done. Moving on to the next part.
For the honor of Grayskull.
Now we're moving on to the body. And the body is mostly made up of a white dress. And I like to put a piece of paper down or a napkin in this case, to lay my part on my desk, because if anybody has ever painted a white model, you know that white is a magnet for everything and anything that is laying on your table. That can be paint across the table and somehow it winds up on your model. So I just like to cover up my table with a good clean napkin before I start, just to make sure I don't get anything on it. And then you want to come back with some gold, and the same gold you used on the flower on the boots, and paint all the gold trimmings that are on her chest. And for the sake of time, I just jumped to the head for when I had them finished. Now this gold, I like this gold, but it's really super thin and you have to put on a couple coats. So this is after about 3 coats of this gold, and it's really shiny, and I really like using this gold, but it is super thin. So if you use it, just be cautious that you're going to have to do it a couple times. And then the last thing on the body is the choker or the necklace or whatever you call this thing. You go ahead and paint it white with a with a red jewel in the middle of it. And then after you get all that done, the body is done. Setting that aside, it is time now to move on to the arms. I didn't show me painting the arm bands, I think is what they're called, gold on her arms, but you use the same gold that you painted the chest pieces with on her arms, and you just want to put them on in several coats. But at the top of her arm, she had these little knobby arm band things. I don't really know what you call them. I don't know really what they're for. They look like they would hurt when you swing your arms, but whatever they are, she had them on her, and they was a white color. So you want to start off painting them white. And in her hand is her weapon of choice, a sword. And every good sword needs a handle. Without a handle, a sword is just a blade that you can't hold. So you gotta have a handle. So I started off painting this with a wood grain brown, just to kind of give it just a little bit of different look to the overall handle appearance. Now the makers of the gold also makes a chrome. So you want to take this chrome and paint all these little knobby spike things that are coming out of this armband. And like I said before, these things are under your arm. I don't know why you would want them. They look like they would just do more harm than good. But whatever, they're there and they need to be chrome. So I painted them chrome. And then I took a small amount of gold and painted, I think is called the pommel of a sword. So that's what I'm going to call it. So you paint that gold, and then you come back with the chrome and paint the top of the sword where the sword connects to the handle. I don't know what you call that piece, but I just thought it needed to be chrome, so I painted it chrome. And there it is. And I don't really know if she had painted fingernails in the show or not, but I felt like, you know, she's a princess and she should have painted fingernails. So I painted them white as well. And there you have it. 2 beautiful arms ready to go on a model and do some combat with. And while I had the chrome out, I went ahead and painted the sword, because it had to be chrome. And in the middle of the sword, on the blade part, had some gold. So your sword's got a little bit of gold and silver on it. And right in the middle of the sword, you had this gem. It was a blue gem. So it worked out good that I painted the sword chrome, because then you come back with a transparent blue and it kind of gives it kind of a see-through shine to it, kind of like you would be if you would seen a jewel. You can kind of see through it, and that's what you wanted to do. And now it's an arm ready for battle. For whatever comes her way, she can take care of it. Next up, we got the cape. Now, when I painted the cape the first time with a red that I thought would look good. But when it dried, it come out to be kind of a maroonish looking red. And I just didn't like it. Because in the show and in the books and stuff, it's a really bright red. So I just decided to come back with a really bright red and paint over that maroon. And this give me the color and the look that I was going for to start with. Moving on to her head. A good color to start off with, in my opinion, that I have found for blonde hair is this Basilisk Brown. It makes a good base color for blonde hair. And if you're thinking, I've heard that name somewhere before, I can show you. It's from this guy from Harry Potter. I don't know how the creators got brown out of this dude, but they did, and here it is. And it's kind of a mustard color. It's not brown or yellow, but it's somewhere in between, and it makes a really good base color to start off for blonde hair. And with the power of video editing, I jumped to the end because I didn't figure you wanted to watch me paint the entire head yellow. So here it is, and it come out really good. And then I come back with a brighter yellow. This is a really bright yellow, and I dry brush it just to pick up some of the highlighted hairs and stuff, just to give it a little different texture and look. And then you want to make sure you leave some of that brown underneath, and then there you go. And then after that gets good and dry, you want to come back, and she had gold metal plating wing things on her head. I don't know what the wing things do. I don't know if they help her fly or what they do, but they was on her head. And they was gold. So you want to take that same gold that you painted the pieces on her chest with and paint this gold. And while I'm painting this, I'm just going to sit back and let y'all listen to some tunage and watch me paint. And there you have it, nice and shiny like gold should be. Now I've been wanting to try a different technique for makeup, and this is the first attempt of ever doing makeup like this. So I took some magenta and I watered it down pretty thin, and I turned my air compressor down to maybe like 8 to 9 pounds or something like that, and I sprayed it very lightly onto the cheeks. And I think it come out pretty good for my first time. And this may be my new way of doing it. Now getting back to her face, I took a Gorgon brown and painted her eyebrows. When you paint eyebrows, you don't want to paint a solid line, because if you do that, it's just going to look weird and look out of place. So you want to take your paintbrush and just make little lines and slashes in it, kind of to insinuate little bitty hairs in the face, and then it'll come out to look a little bit better than a solid line. Now her eyelashes, when you go to paint them, you want to take a black. And she had some really big eyelashes, so they're pretty easy to paint. They stick away from her face and everything. So they was really easy to paint. But you want to paint them black and then come back and paint the inside of her bottom eyelid, if that makes sense, or if that's even how I need to say that. But you want to paint the inside of the bottom of her eyelid. That's the way I'm going to say it. And you want to paint that black as well, so you can come back in and start painting your white part of your eye. Now when you paint the eyes, it can be a daunting task, but you just want to take your time and keep your hands steady and just do the thing. And I started off painting the white part of your eye with a highlight skin, because if you noticed, your whites of your eyes are not pure white, so your highlight skin is kind of an off-white, which makes it look a little bit better. And then you come in with a dark color blue. So she had blue eyes, and I done a dark blue. And you want to make sure that you get your eyes looking the direction that she is supposed to be looking. And in this case, she was looking straight ahead. And you want to make sure that you get them both the same size, because if you get them too big, it looks like an anime character, but you get it too small and it kind of looks like she may be on some kind of drugs or something. So you want to make them look right and to the size. And then you come back with a lighter blue in the center of that and just leave a little rim of dark blue around it. And then when you get your blue put down, you want to come back with a black pupil in the center. And then after the pupil, you want to come back with a specular highlight in the corner in which the light would be hitting her eyes. Now for her lips, I didn't have the right color pink that I wanted. I didn't want it red and I didn't want it pink. So the best way to do that is you mix them. And you want to take your time on your lips, because you don't want to get your lips too off, because if you make them too big, they just look weird. But if you make them too small, they kind of look weird. So you just want to kind of just keep building up till you get the size of lips that you want. And then when you get the size that you want and get it painted, you come back with a gloss clear and put over the lips and the eyes, just to give them kind of a wet look. And the last thing we need to do is, she had a red jewel in the middle of her hat or helmet or whatever you want to call it. I painted it a chrome color just like I did on her armband things. And then you want to come back with a transparent red and paint over that, just like you did the blue jewel on her sword. And then once you get that all done, you can officially call this model done.
For the honor of Grayskull.
And with that, we're at the end of another video. I hope you've got a little something from this video to help you on your next Shira or on another model. And I would like to say thank you to each and every one of y'all that have stuck around to watch my videos. And don't forget to like and share with everyone you can. And you have my permission to do that. And a special thanks to the ones that have subscribed to me. We are pushing for 400 right now, so subscribe. And if you've not done that already, you can go do that right now. And tell all your friends and family to do so as well. Y'all are the reason that I'm doing this, to help you on your journey to make great models. And remember, be kind and treat people the way you want to be treated. Until the next time, y'all come back now, you hear?